Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. There is a moment in every human life when the soul awakens, not when you first feel joy or pain, not when you become an adult. It began long before any of that happened, before your body, before your parents, before the earth cooled to hold oceans. Your story began with a simple command. إنما عمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون. His command, when he intends a thing, is only that he says to it, be, and it is. Verse 82 in Surah Yasin. With that single command, Allah created the universe, the galaxies, the atoms, and time itself. But within that vast universe, He had a specific intention to create a being capable of carrying the trust, the amana that heavens and the earth refused. In Surah Al-Ahzab, in verse 72, we see that men were given the ability to undertake and to bear this responsibility. And to carry this amana, Allah shaped a long arc of development across Earth's history, from the oceans to the land, from simple organizations to complex species, from creatures that could only survive to creatures that could think. Scientists calls this process evolution. Islam calls it qadar, moving through time. Both describe a sequence, carefully unfolding under Allah's permission. And there is one scientific fact that represents the turning point in this entire story. The difference between the bodies of all other great apes and the body that would eventually carry the ruh. Chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, all these primates, all of them have 48 chromosomes. Human beings have 46. The difference exists because two chromosomes fused together in our lineage. This fusion event is called the formation of human chromosome 2. Today, scientists treat this fusion as the most dramatic structural shift in the human genome. It is extremely rare in mammals. Chromosome to chromosome fusion almost never result in a stable, fertile species. Most of the time, it leads to genetic problems, sterility, miscarriage, or developmental disorders. Yet for humans, it didn't cause breakdown. In fact, it caused emergence. It became part of the blueprint for every single human being on this earth. And here is where the scientific perspective becomes remarkably astonishing. This fusion wasn't messy or chaotic. It wasn't a genetic equivalent of two pages being torn and glued together. The fusion site shows a precise end-to-end match. Two telomeres, the protective caps normally found on the caps on the ends of chromosomes, are fused head to head in the exact orientation required for stability. Scientists describe this as a clean telomere to telomere fusion, something so unlikely by blind chance that they themselves, the scientists themselves, call it a highly improbable event. But it isn't just fuse, it functions. The region acts as a regulatory hub, a switchboard for gene activity. RNA polymerase II, the main enzyme that begins the process of reading DNA, starts its work inside the so-called fusion site. The supposed fossil centromere, which should have become useless, actually forms part of an active gene essential for the cell's internal structure. So the most unusual mutation in human history also happens to be one of the most useful. You can describe this as an accident of nature. But accidents do not produce complex, functional architecture. Accidents do not activate gene networks. Accidents do not write blueprints for future of a species. From the perspective of Islam, this looks like preparation. A final structural calibration, the last stage in refining sort of a physical container. Because after millions of years of development, Allah allowed the lineage to reach a point where its structure could sustain something new, something no other creature carried, the ruh. When Allah described Adam alayhi salam's creation, He separated the physical stage from the spiritual activation. Allah said He is creating a human being from clay. It's mentioned in Surah Sad, verse 71. And that is the container. And then Allah continued in same Surah of Sad to verse number 72. Allah said, so when I have fashioned him and breathed into him of my ruh. Now, this is significant because this is the activation of the ruh in the container. The Prophet explained in Sahih Muslim that before the ruh was breathed into Adam, his body was formed and left as Allah willed. Iblis inspected that form, entering through the hollow interior, and he concluded that Adam would struggle with self-control because the container was hollow, awaiting the command that would begin to animate it. And when Allah infused the ruh, He also placed within the human being three other inner structures that no other creature that He created carried in the same way. The Qalb, or the spiritual heart that can know Allah. The Aql, the intellect that can reason, that can understand and reflect. And the Nafs, the self that must be disciplined and purified. And the Ruh itself, the soul that took the covenant in Alam Ruh, Alam Arwah, before your birth. Animals have life, they have instinct, they have emotion, but they do not have this combination of structures, and they do not carry the amanah. Your soul took a covenant with Allah long before you entered this world. Allah mentioned this, Alastu bi rabbikum. Am I not your Lord? And they all said yes, in Surah Araf, verse 172. Then Allah chose the exact moment for that soul to be joined to a physical form. Not the first creature to walk upright, not the first creature to hold hand tools, not the child, but the child that is forming in the mother's womb, very much described in Surah Al-A and Surah Al-Mu'minun. In those verses, it's mentioned clinging cloth, the lump of flesh. Then we made him into another creation. Many scholars of the past has mentioned that this another creation is the infusion of the ruh into the container. Now, when you put all this together, a beautiful picture emerges. It's quite amazing to imagine it right now. Science shows a rare chromosomal event, very precise, very functional, very transformative. Islam shows a divine plan unfolding, preparing, shaping, and completing. Both align to one single truth. The human being is not random. Your architecture was refined through time. Your soul was chosen before time. Your body was given only to serve that soul. Your qalb, your aql, your nafs were designed to work in combination, to work together, to recognize the truth, to worship, and to choose, and to struggle. So when you pray, you are not bending just a body. You are aligning a soul that once answered to Allah directly. When you fall into sin, you are not harming your flesh. You are veiling, the word to use, the heart that was shaped to carry light. And when you remember Allah, you are not filling your time. You are basically activating the very purpose for which your container was created. Allah did not breathe His ruh into mountains or stars. He breathed it into you, the container. The universe is vast, but only the children of Adam carry the burden of eternity. The question now is simple. Will you live as a body that forgets or a soul that remembers?